going to have 10, 15 minutes at the end of the webinar to go through any questions. So if you do have any, put them in that little chat box to the right, and we will. I'll tackle as many of those as possible at the end of the webinar. Okay, on we go. A quick industry profile of me. I started in industry in 1997. Feels like a long time ago, and it is. It really is. 1997, I started PTing, and for the preceding sort of 7 or 8 years, spent a significant amount of time doing employed PT work and also self-employed PT work as well. So I've been in club, out of club, under various different models, and have been fortunate enough to work in some very nice clubs in London, and some not so nice clubs as well, and not so nice environments. But that's all right. It's all part of the journey. So I've got a reasonable amount of experience to fall back on. I've been with Fitness First since 2002, so a good amount of experience in a health club environment as well, where I've worked at club level, also across a division of 60-odd clubs, and currently now as UK PT manager. We've got 8 across our 76 clubs, and we've got 380 clubs worldwide. We're a global business, but 76 in the UK. As I said, 800 plus PTs in the UK, and our PTs are all self-employed. Now that brings a lot of consideration with it when it comes to deciding if a PT role with Fitness First is right for you. But ultimately, being a self-employed person is about owning your business. It's about being responsible for every facet of your business. As soon as PTs start to externalize, it starts to go a little bit awry. So being a self-employed person, regardless of the industry, is about owning it. But we have very much a one-team philosophy in our clubs. We don't segregate anybody from it. We make sure that there's a family. There's a club family across the estate, and that's self-employed people. It's PTs, it's group fitness instructors, it's cleaners, it's concessionaires such as physios, etc., as well as the wider employed team too. So great place to be, and I'm just going to give you a bit of a snapshot into what our clubs look like just for a second. We want to bring every club, every PT closer to us, and that means integrating them well through their onboarding journey, if you like, and the way that they can build a business within our clubs. That's a look at one of our clubs. That's in Clapham Junction. Some of you may be familiar with that. What we try and do is make our clubs an interactive playground. As you can see there, it looks kind of cool, looks kind of fun, and it's moving in 3 planes of motion. Glass walls everywhere, so everyone can see in, everyone can see out, and making it just a fun environment to be. We hope. PTs are front and center of our business. A huge part to play in member interaction, and that's why these connection skills are so important. We like to make sure that every member knows who our PTs are. We've got eye points, touchscreen televisions all around the club, just to make sure that you know exactly every member knows exactly who the PTs are, who you are. Touch on that screen. Let's take Simon there on the right-hand side. Touch on Simon's mugshot there, and you'll see a biography, and you'll see various other things to do with Simon. As I said, 3 planes of motion. It's about having fun. You know, we always moved in 3 planes of motion. When we were kids, and we went to the playground, and we jumped around, and we chased and did all sorts of different things. And then we go into a gym when we're adults, and we sit in a chair, and we push things from A to B, and then back to A again, and we sit on a bicycle, and we just move in one plane, and it just doesn't feel right. So let's jump about a bit. Let's move around. Let's work in small groups. Let's have some fun, and let's build a business whilst we're doing so. So that's how we like to sort of raise the bar with our personal training standards, and that's how we like to support our PTs to build a great business. Okay, that's us. But now back to you, and let's take a dive straight into the detail of the first section, which is financial management. Now, you guys are all business leaders. You're leading your own business. Some of you in different models. Some of you may be yet to start a business. Maybe you're still in learning. But the key thing is You need to be a business person just as much as you need to be a great personal trainer. When I say that, I mean a practical technician of exercise and health and fitness. So my first question to you, you're a great PT, potentially, if you're still in learning, but are you a great business person? How do you measure success as a personal trainer? I've been asking PTs this question for the last, well, I'm afraid to say 18 years. I've been asking PTs, are you successful? What does your business look like? And they always say the following. They always say how many sessions they're doing per week. So they're measuring, and that is not the success of your business from a commercial perspective. Because if our friend Tim is doing 10 sessions and Sarah is doing 20 sessions, by nature of the normal response, Sarah is the more successful personal trainer. But if Tim is keeping his costs down and is only spending the equivalent of 3 sessions worth of PT per week, whereas Sarah is spending 18 sessions worth per week, then who's the more successful PT? Well, if gross profit is anything to go by, clearly Tim is, because he's got a difference of 7 and Sarah's only got a difference of 2 between their revenue and their costs. Excuse me. So it's about profit. And I want to make sure that you guys have just got a little bit more of a handle on that. I'm sure some of you have already, but let's just start with a very, very simple calculation. Some of you might not, some of you might be just diving into your first year of trading as a PT. So this is a great starting point for you. Others who maybe are getting towards the anniversary, maybe the end of their tax year, we're getting very, very close to the great point to start this potential calculation with some easy numbers. Let's take a personal trainer with a desired annual income of £40,000. This is gross income. This is just the money that you take from your clients. Okay. If you divide that by your average session price, you will get a number. I've used the example here of £35. Some of you will be significantly more. Some of you may be slightly less than that. But let's take an average of 35 quid. So, if I want to make £40,000 in the next 12-month period, I need to do 1,143 sessions at an average of £35, but my single session price might be 40. And the reason I'm averaging slightly less than that is because I'm going to sell block bookings of 5s, 10s, 15s, whatever you think is right, a month, 4 weeks, 6-week packages, whatever it is, where you'll probably incentivize the consumer to purchase those packages because of a lower session price. It's unlikely you'll sell blocks of 10 at 400, where your single session price is 40. You're just going to get people buying hand to mouth £40 per session. So you've got to incentivize people for the block bookings, and that makes sense. So 1,143 sessions across the year. I'm going to divide that by the number of weeks I want to work this year, or in the next 12-month period. I've put 50 down because I want to take 2 weeks off. I don't want to work over Christmas, and I want to give myself a week off in the summer to go and enjoy time with friends, family, or whatever. You choose what that is. It might be 48, it might be 40, you choose. It's completely up to you, but you plug the numbers into this simple calculation. Okay, in this example, I need to average 23 sessions a week to hit my £40,000 desired income. Now, I've put in italics there, average. I'm not going to start, let's assume that this is the first year of my business. I'm clearly not going to start in week 1 on 23 sessions. I'm going to start on 0. So if I'm going to start on 0 and build my business up to a point where I reach 23, I'm going to need to exceed 23 in the latter part of the year in order to average 23 for the entire 12-month period. So I might be doing none for the first week, 2 for the second, 3 for the third, etc., until I build up over maybe 3-4 months to 23 sessions. Clearly, for the last 3 months of the year, I'm going to need to be doing 25 to 30 plus maybe in order to average 23 and make my £40,000. Hope that makes sense to everybody. However, it's not all about revenue, as we've already discussed. It's also about calculating your annual spend. Now, this will be a part where you go, oh my goodness, do I really have to go through all of my bank statements and just write down how much I spend on everything from travel to hardware, to software on my computer, to clothing, to bills? Yes, you do, is the short answer to that, because otherwise you will never know what you need to cover your costs. In this example, the same personal trainer that wants to earn £40,000 knows that they spend £24,000 a year. Everything, not just business-related costs, this is everything, okay? That, if we just plug it straight into the same calculation as we did before, is 686 equivalent sessions at £35, which is equivalent to 14 sessions a week just to cover costs. Okay, so we've got 23 sessions average to get to £40,000 desired income, but the first hurdle, and this is something that we've got to do as soon as possible, is to hit 14 sessions a week just to cover those costs. So let's take a look at a PT's bank account. What does it look like in this first growth phase? What does their bank account look like? Well, if we take the horizontal line as 0, I'm going to assume that every PT starts their business on 0 at the start of their first trading year. That might not be the case. It might be that you've got savings. It might be that you've got money hidden under the mattress. You might, I don't know, rob a bank, sell a kidney. I don't know what you might do, but you might have a little bit more access to some revenue. Or you might even start underneath that horizontal line, having borrowed money to do your course. I don't know. That's up to you to establish. One thing's for certain is you will not be on 23 sessions a week, or even 14 sessions a week in week 1. But you will continue to spend money. You have to. You've got to travel to your gym or your park or clients' houses, wherever you run your business from. So you will be spending more than you earn in the early stages. And because of that, your business will look like that, or your bank account will look like that. It will go down before it goes up. There will come a point where you will stop losing quite as much money in terms of profit. You'll stop making as much of a loss per week as you used to, because your business is growing. You've got good cost control, etc., etc. But there will come a point, which is denoted by this arrow here, where, guess what? You are now making as much as you spend, and therefore you are doing 14 sessions a week because you're covering your costs. That's where that line is flat. Every point thereafter, assuming that you do more than 14 sessions, and that is growing and growing and growing, you will continue to make profit. Right. You can control this. You can control this curve, because you decide how much time you apply into your business. You decide how much time to speak to members, to speak to people in your local community, to market yourself, to do all the cool things that is a more enjoyable part of PT, which is to speaking to potential consumers and customers. And you can control your costs. You don't have to go out on a Friday night and go out with your pals and hit the town. You don't have to buy that extra pair of trainers. You don't have to spend the additional money. You can save it all, and therefore, what will that do to the curve? Well, that curve will simply bring that point of crossover, where you're making as much as you spend, up and to the left. And you've got a big decision to make, guys. If you are in this first year, or in any year where you're not quite sure of your cost controls, how deep can that trough go? How much can you afford to borrow in order to maintain a profit-making business? Okay, see what the difference is between those two curves. It's not just the fact that there's a few weeks or months or whatever it is between the two arrows, look at the amount of profit or how much sooner that person in the green is making profit for. That's a significant amount of time where they're making profit above and beyond the person in the red. Okay, so it's all about control over costs in the early stages as much as it is about driving business growth through revenue in your clubs, in your parks, in your clients' houses, local communities. Okay, let's look at the funnel. Let's make no mistake, we talked about it in the start of the webinar. You're in the business of interacting, and also you're in the business of relationship building, supporting and developing your clients. But in the growth phase, make no mistake, you're in the numbers game too. It's such a crucial part of your business. This is broadly what your business will look like when you're trying to grow your revenue streams through PT sessions. It is a funnel. It's a little bit old school, but it's still very, very relevant for a personal trainer. You will attract members, potential clients, and consumers in various different ways. If you're an in-club PT, the very best way of doing this is simply by getting your face in front of as many members as possible, saying and doing the right things. Simple as that. When you're working with a client base outside of a club, there are various different ways to do it. Well, obviously you can't show your face to your entire community in person, so you have to do it in different ways. Social media is an obvious one to broaden your net, as is other forms of marketing, advertising, etc., local press, and the like. You need to fill as many relevant people into the top of that. I say relevant because some people are not, they'll never be hot leads for you. They're always going to be cold leads and will not probably, they'll fall out of this funnel fairly quickly. But hopefully you'll qualify your leads and you'll know who to attack, in figuratively speaking, of course. You'll know who to attack from a lead generation perspective. So you'll fill your members up at the top of the funnel, and at some point, let's take the example of an in-club model. You'll speak to as many members as you can and try and attract them to you and your business and your service. Some of them will potentially go straight down and be a client. Some of them, however, will need some convincing. And that will be in like a try before you buy type session. This is relevant for any model. A try before you buy session could be something you have on your website. Click here for a free trial, something like that. Or it can be an offer face-to-face if you're in a health club. You will then connect to that person through that taster session. A taster session is incredibly important. It's not just going to be about generating a fantastic practical session where you hammer somebody to death and they go, wow, that was amazing, I can barely breathe, I'll buy 10 PT sessions from you. That's not how you connect to a potential client. It's as much about your softer skills as it is about your practical skills, and we'll go into that in a second. So your showcase isn't necessarily just showcasing how wonderful you are with a kettlebell, with a Viper, with battle ropes, with any other technical piece of kit that you can bring to life. It's also about you, the way that you communicate, the way that you hold yourself, your professionalism, and a range of other softer skills that are so important in this try before you buy taster session, as I put it there. Once you've done that taster session, towards the end of it, you'll simply be aligning the quality of that session with a bunch of numbers. Those numbers are your prices. If you've got a good, solid, and most of all transparent, honest, open price presentation, that will be a simple hurdle to overcome for you and for the member. Hopefully it won't be a hurdle at all, and they would have signed up before you even get to that stage. If you're having problems closing from the price presentation, do one of two things. First of all, look at the clarity of your price presentation. Show it to your mum, show it to your next door neighbor, show it to your dog, and if they can't make head or tail of it, then you've got to ask yourself, is it simple enough? Treat it like a menu in a restaurant. You shouldn't need to ask the waiter what the dishes are unless you're going to a a restaurant that's, you know, everything's written in a foreign language, you shouldn't need to ask. It should be pretty clear from the menu what it is the particular service or dish is and the price attached to it. Likewise, if you're selling blocks of 5, 10, 15, 6-week, 12-week solutions, it should be very clear what the ultimate price is, what the price per session is, and it should be very, very transparent. The other thing is, if you're not closing from your price presentation, look at the quality of the service that's preceded it. Is your try before you buy taster session, is that of the right quality? Have you connected with your member to a good enough level of detail that you understand them, you know what they want, you know what makes them tick, you know their emotional drivers for seeking your help in the first place, you know what they like, what they don't like, injuries, illness, all the basic stuff. Thereafter, once you've aligned it and once they've purchased personal training from you, it simply becomes a journey of support between you and your new client. That support may come in various different ways. Obviously, it's the PT sessions that you deliver, but it's other support, remote support. It's through social media. It's through rewards, various other different means to support your business. Let me give you a quick story just to bring this to life a little bit. And it is from a health club environment, obviously. It's from a Fitness First in Liverpool Street. A PT in there called Joe. I'm not making this up, by the way. This is absolutely true. Last May, Joe started in Liverpool Street Fitness First, which is right in the train station. Quite a small club, but quite a busy club. I tasked him with speaking to as many members as he could in an hour. Now, that hour was in peak time. I think it was 6:30 till 7:30. I asked him to come back the day after and say how many people he'd spoken to in that hour, and also how many people he'd booked into one of these try before you buy taster sessions. Now, in an hour, Joe managed to speak to 22 members, which is absolutely great. Once every 3 minutes, he was speaking to a new member. Fantastic. Much more difficult to do when you're out of a health club, but clearly when you've got a captive audience, that is quite straightforward. Once every 3 minutes saying, hi, how you doing? My name's Joe. What are you training today? Etc., etc. He was then able to engage 14 of those 22 into a taster session that was booked for the day after, the week after, sometime in the near future. So 14 out of 22 people said, I quite like you at first impression, I'd like to find out a bit more. Yes, I would like to do a free taster session with you. I then came back to Joe about 6 weeks later, and I said, right, Joe, tell me, how many of those 14 people that you saw converted to further personal training? And he said 9. Now, these are pretty outstanding conversions, by the way. These are all numbers that I would want you and encourage you to keep track of. Know how many people you're speaking to, know how many people are booking for a taster session thereafter, and know how many people and what your ratios are of converting to clients after those tasters. So Joe's there with 9 new clients. I said to him, Joe, how many sessions a week are you doing with those 9 clients? And he said, on average, once a week, given that you got some at 2, some at once a fortnight, etc., etc. What's your average session price, Joe? £50. So, quick calculation, 9 times 50 is £450 a week, multiplied by 50 weeks, £22,500. I said, right, Joe, let me get this straight. You walked on the gym floor for 1 hour, and the eventual impact on your annual business is £22,500 from that single hour of communication. He said, yeah, that sounds right. I said, so if you repeat that process with the same output and the same conversions from each stage for 3 more hours, you will have a £90,000 annualized business. Is that correct? Yes, it is. And that is the impact. That's the power of an hour. And I know it sounds a bit cheesy, so apologies for the for the cheese. But the power of an hour is that he only has to do what he did for 3 more hours, so 4 hours in total, and Joe has built himself an annualized £90,000 business, assuming that those conversions are carried through. Your conversions may or may not be the same as that. It'll be much different if you've got an out-of-club PT model, but this just shows you the strength of that connection and measuring those conversions from the top of the funnel through the middle, and you've got that try before you buy through to client. Hope that's all clear, and that brings to life how important that bit is. Let's look at these softer skills. I'm just going to go back a slide again. Look at the top there, attract and connect on the right-hand side. Attract and connect, that's so important, and you can't get anybody to the bottom of your funnel before you've attracted them and connected with them. So you have to be aware of a number of things, and these are where your softer skills will come in. This is about the making great connections piece. So this is emotional intelligence. You all have an IQ. This is EQ. Emotional quotient is the actual terminology, but emotional intelligence is what we're looking at. So we've got to start at the top left. We've got to start at self-awareness. Some of you will be thinking right now, yes, I have good self-awareness. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm potentially not so good at. But I would encourage you to spend some time looking inwardly, potentially asking people who know you very, very well to do the same, and to critique your character. This is not about your practical skills, by the way. This is about your characteristics, your traits. You might be the kind of person who is very engaging, but talks too much. You might be the kind of person that's very detailed, but gets nervous around in social environments. You might be the kind of person that you're very determined, very focused, and very driven. However, you can come across as being a bit overbearing and a bit bossy. You might be the kind of person who's very caring, very sharing, very patient, relaxed. However, you might be somebody who doesn't make decisions very quickly, quite indecisive and a bit stubborn, a bit slow to grab opportunities. So take a look at yourself and really do this and do it properly, because this really gives you the springboard for the rest of the success of this model. If you spend a significant amount of time in self-awareness and write down these things, write down the challenges you know will face you when you're building your business, you will then be able to go effectively into social awareness and self-management. Let's take social awareness first. Once you know about yourself, you then know how you fit into the environment in which you're working. It might be your local community, it might be in your gym, but you know how you fit in. Right, I know that yeah, I do tend to talk a bit, but that's okay, because I can use that to my advantage whilst talking to a group of members in a class situation. That's good. However, I know that when I'm talking to one-on-one, I maybe need to do something different. And that's where you come down into self-management. All right, so maybe I'm struggling to connect with somebody one-on-one. Why is that? I'm going to get someone just to critique my characteristics. Oh, crikey, they've said that I talk too much. Now, how would that affect me if I'm trying to talk to a member and encouraging them to be my client? Well, what's people's favorite topic? You're probably all thinking now, well, myself, that's my favorite topic. Everyone loves talking about themselves. So give your potential customer, your potential client, the opportunity to talk about themselves. That means you asking open-ended questions, being quiet, listening to the answers, paraphrasing, repeating, reiterating key points. That might be one example of self-management. Another area of self-management, this is absolutely critical with a self-employed personal trainer, is self-discipline. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm the kind of person that presses the snooze button. I'm the kind of person that quite likes a little bit of daytime telly, and if I go into the club at 11 o'clock today, it doesn't matter too much because I can still spend 8 hours there. Self-management will go, no, it means more to me to build my business quickly than it does to catch the next episode of Cash in the Attic. So I'm not going to stay at home until 11 o'clock. I'm going to go in for 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, even earlier, and I'm going to make sure that I'm full of energy, full of beans, and driving my business, and that's the kind of person I'm going to be until I reach my goal, reach my client base, reach my profit target. So now you've spent some time self-managing, adapting, changing your characteristics slightly, not totally. And that's an important point to make. Don't change your personality for anybody. Just tweak some bits that you think could harm your business growth in the early stages. Social awareness. You now know how you fit into your team, how you fit into your community. Let's take a team of 10 other personal trainers. There might be 2 of them you don't connect to very well. Is that because you're too alike? Is that because you're very, very different? How do they see you? Can you understand how they might see you? And once you understand that, you can build a better relationship. That comes with members, that comes with potential clients, that comes with members of the public in your community. How can you build a more effective relationship with them? Right, so I know who I am, I get it. My characteristics are the following. I can manage myself to improve on the characteristics that will help or hinder my business growth, and I get how my character and my personality fit into the social environment and the work environment in which I'm trying to build my business. And only now can I build an effective relationship with a potential customer. Once you do that, once you recognize all those areas, only then can you reach out to those potential customers and say, this is me, my name's Chris, I'm a personal trainer, and this is what I'm great at, and this is why you need to pay me money for my services. Too many PTs tackle the relationship management and try and build on that and sell their business too quickly. And that's where I think people come unstuck, because they've not spent a significant amount of time in the other 3 boxes. Whistle-stop tour there of emotional intelligence. We could probably talk about that for another hour or 2, but that's how I think your mindset needs to be at any stage, but certainly in your growing phase. This is a very important model to look at as well, and this will be relevant for any personal trainer when you're trying to make great connections. Next time you go to a pub, and next time you're introduced to people that you don't know, think about what you're doing and think about what you're talking about and each level that you might be talking about. You'll probably spend some time talking about the weather, talking about inconsequential stuff that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it really does, because it's that bottom layer, it's the foundations, it's the approach to a new member, it's introducing yourself to somebody who might be a mate in the future, might be a client in the future. Only then, and let's take the idea of a member in a health club, or a consultation with somebody that that's clicked on a trial session through your website. This is the bit where you start to talk about facts, figures, and details. Who are you? What do you like doing? In ideas and opinions. So we've got exercise history. How much? When by? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? What do you like doing? Do you enjoy doing circuits? Do you enjoy doing exercise to music? Do you enjoy doing chest and back on a Monday, etc., etc.? So that's facts, figures, details, ideas, and opinions. And it's important that you go at it in that broad order. If you try and attack the things at the top, as you can see on the left there, is trust going up the left-hand side and risk going up the right-hand side. If you try and go too far up too soon and start to talk to people about their feelings and emotions before they're ready, that unfortunately brings with it too much risk. The trust is not there, rapport breaks down. Build it up a little bit with good conversational introduction, approach, etc. Back it up with some facts, figures, details, ideas, and opinions. Break the ice a little bit. Ask them for some basic details, and then ask the all-important why. Why are you doing this? Why are you running 5K? It's not just because you want to, or you got out of bed this morning and thought, I fancy a run. It's because of that charity. It's because of that friend. It's because of that holiday. It's because of a feeling. It's because of an emotion. You've got to get emotional when it comes to building rapport. Likes and dislikes is not enough. It really isn't. You may as well sell double glazing if you think that likes and dislikes, exercise history is enough. You are more than that. You're more important than that. Your service has much more of an impact than a car salesman or a double glazing salesman. Feelings and emotions have got to be tackled as soon as possible, but not too soon. So, we talked about out of bed. There's a reason why they're seeking your help. It's not because you just had a nice smile on the day. It's because there's an underlying emotion, and that's why they're with you in front of you today. Okay, that's the. I'll just review some of the key takeaways from that sort of 40-minute webinar today. Been a bit of a whistle-stop tour of some of those topics. Maybe you've got a few questions. We'll see. What we've got in a minute. First of all, do the maths. You've got to spend some time looking at the numbers. Profit is king. If ever somebody asks you in the future, how well is your business doing, and you reply with, not bad, I'm doing 25 sessions a week, kick yourself up the backside. That is not good enough. It might be good enough as an answer for the person asking you the question, but for you as a business person, you've got to be in a position to say, yeah, I'm doing 25 sessions a week, and by the way, I've got a 40% profit margin in my business because I'm only spending X, Y, Z, etc., etc. That's where you become a business person and not just a revenue generator. Don't leave the funnel to chance. The power of an hour. We talked about our friend Joe in Liverpool Street, and you've got to be in a position to know your numbers, and you need to know, right, if I'm going to build my business, 23 clients, I need to do it in the next 12 weeks, therefore X, Y, Z, conversions are known, and therefore I need to make sure that every hour there's 4 connections, there's 4 new members that I speak to. I'm going to try and make sure that two of those or one of those goes into a try before you buy taster session, and I'm going to try and convert every 3rd one of those. That's when you become in control of your business. Know yourself. You cannot possibly connect to and sell to every single person that you come into contact with. It's just not possible. So understand that and go, okay, that's fair enough. I've not connected to that person. Understand why. Think about how you can improve the way that you pitch, the way that you communicate, the way that you potentially could have connected to that person given your time again, but don't force it. You know, there'll be some people that you'll never connect to, and that's okay. Accept that, but learn from it each time. And don't sell on fact. Don't sell on likes and dislikes. Sell on emotion. If you speak to a potential customer, as potential client, and you feel like you've got a list of things in front of you that are factual, their likes and dislikes, their illness and injury, their occupation, they're important, but they're ultimately not tied to an emotion, you've probably not gone far enough. You could sell, you might well sell, and you might do a great job, but expect your conversions to be a bit lower than if you just squeeze that extra couple of minutes out of the conversation and try and get to an emotional tie. People want to tell you that, by the way. People do want to tell you that. They might not always want to tell you straight away. And that comes back to their character type. Some people that you can probably think of right now, they go, yeah, I barely know somebody, but I'm happy to talk about feelings and emotions within 10 minutes, because that's the kind of guy, kind of girl I am.